Yeah, just Sveno, Mick here. You've probably worked out by this, I'm a bit of a Ford fan. This, which I've done a bit of a thing on yesterday. This, that's pretty well that car there, except for the blacked out bonnet. That's exactly what I've got. One of those old dears. It's stored in a secure storage. I don't get it out a lot. A lot of people don't even realise I've still even got it. But always been a bit of a Ford fan, which I think that I've probably told people right from, I'll just get comfy here, right from, there we go, probably really become a real Ford fan. Always used to see, not see many, because they're in really short numbers. This car here, for instance, they only made in the four-door GT Falcon from 1973 through to June of 1976. In four-door GT Falcons they made 1,950 over the whole of Australia, and they made 700 and I think it was 747 or 750 or around about 750 two-door GT Falcons. They made a lot more two-doors in cars, like they made John Goss specials in the XB, which was, he won Bathurst in 1974 with Kevin Bartlett in an XA GT to commemorate John Goss. They done a John Goss special, which are worth good money today, two-door. White wasn't Snow White. My XB is what they call Snow White, and that's actually a 76 XB changeover to XC colour. So the last couple of months of production they done Snow White. I think they done about maybe 40 or 50 Snow White Falcon GTs all up, XBs. Like I said, it was an XC colour, and John Goss's was more of a, well, Snow White is exactly what it is, Snow White, it looks like snow. XC Cobras, the two-door Cobras with the blue stripes down them, that's Snow White too. Like I said, it was an XC colour. So your XB GT Falcon was the finish of the what they call the first generation of GT Falcon. So XR, XT, XW, XY, they're the square ones. Not unlike about the late 60s American Falcon. They used to do a two-door American Falcon. So they're not unlike that, but those Australia just modified. And the ultimate of the XW, what they call the Phase 1 or Windsor Ho, so it's Windsor powered. They, I think it was 290 horsepower. Then they done the Cleveland in halfway through what they called the Phase 1.5, Phase 2. So they were XW powered, XW Falcon powered Cleveland cars. I think Phase 1.5, I think they made 50 of them. Phase 2's Cleveland powered again. Not too sure of the numbers, it's all there in the history books, you can easily find it. And then the ultimate of those the old square Fords, which finished up in 1971, the XY. So they done the XY, what they call the GTHO Phase 3. So outside of Australia and New Zealand, look, it'd be like getting, I suppose it's like getting a Shelby GT 500 KR or something, or even a Torino Talladega or something like that. Numbers are very small. So the XY GTHO Phase 3, 300 of them made, and they're all four-door cars. So then they went into the coupes with the XA, so they went XA and XB, was still made XA GTs, coupes and four-doors. Then they made XB GTs, coupes and 4-doors, and they stopped making the GT. But also along, not parallel, but along the same lines, they made what they call a GS, which is Grand Sport or something. But at the end of the XY, the HO, the GTHO phases, that was the end of the ones that you could buy, the what they call the Bathurst specials, or the HOEs, HOs, and those, the last 300 of them, and then they made, one went down the production line, 4-door GTHO phase 4, and it was a 4-door, and it was, I think it's Calypso green, so that's the only one that went down the production line with GTHO on the compliance plate. Now they were single plate compliance plates on the up there, and that was in the XAs, and then they went to a dual plate compliance plate, which I think I've showed you on mine. But effectively anything that had JG33 on it, and then there's another number there which I could easily show you, but it doesn't matter, you can easily find that out. JG33 determined it was a 4-door GT Falcon, and JG66 determined it was a 2-door GT Falcon. So the JG33 and the JG66, I think J stood for Australia, I think G's for Geelong, Geelong, no, Broadmeadows. Anyhow, you can look it up. But anyhow, they're in small numbers. So, and then even smaller are the phase 4s. So there was one went down the production line, fully road registerable, phase 4 with HO on the compliance plate, GTHO, and also then because they'd ordered in 300 or 400 parts of all their special equipment from America, so Detroit locker diff, I think, 31 spline axles, heavier duty universals, heavier duty tail shaft, bullnose top loader gearbox, couple of, like 3 different diff ratios in the Hoey, in the phase 3. I can't speak for phase 2 and Windsor hose. I think Windsor Hoe probably the least. 36 gallon fuel tank in the GTHOs. Obviously different coil springs in the front, different leaf pack in the back. Twin point distributor, 370 or thereabouts. Modified Cleveland, not 4-bolt mains, but big port. Now I'm not sure if they were closed chamber, open chamber cylinder heads, but adjustable mechanical camshaft, twin point distributor, adjustable rockers, 780 Holly, different inlet manifold as I understand, rev limiter 6,150 or 6,450 cut off rev limiter, but they reckon that was all over the shop like a madman was washing. And I've seen a fair few of these things, like I've heard there's anything from 150 of the XYs left down to as little as 80. But I think there would be under half a dozen which you would call very, very original, non-restored, original patina cars that are extremely low miles. So they're an interesting car. Getting back to so then we went into the XAs and XBs in 4 doors. Now the XA and the XB and the XC are all very similar cars. Tail lights, three individual on each side in the XA, like with a surround around them. The XB had 3, but that was all in one piece of a lens, and a honeycomb grille in the XB. I think the XB has the best looking front end of the 3 of them, that's my opinion. So I've always liked XBs, but now these cars, this one like I've got, they have a 28 spline differential, 28 spline axles. They have a big tail shaft, good size unis. I wouldn't say phase 3 size unis. They have 26 gallon fuel tank, 124 litres I think it is. What else have they got? Factory tramp rods from the differential to the body. They're about that long. I've showed you them on my earlier videos. Yeah, then your 351. Four-wheel disc brakes are the first with four-wheel disc brakes. Then you could get what they call the big port XBs. Mine's a small port XB. You get the big port XBs. That was the last of. There was still a few of them that they used for. I think they were American. Not 100% sure whether. No, they wouldn't have been American imported. They might have been American cylinder heads, because we had the 302 small port heads here in Australia, what we call the 302 small port, which a lot of the 351s had on them, so that upped the compression ratio, because they had a closed chamber cylinder head on them, and they're small port, which I actually reckon they're better on the street. And mine's got bags of torque. It had bags of torque as a 351, that's got a fair bit more as a 408. But I have the open chamber heads on mine now, but they're still the small port open chamber heads. But no, the cars themselves, it's the racing heritage, the track heritage, and also the road heritage. And the newer cars haven't seemed to be able to capture that, because these things were series production cars. They were very minimal modifications. That's why I said yesterday I was talking about when they raced them. It was that 1,000 kilometre race at Bathurst was wasn't a slow race, but they don't race them what they do today. It's basically a pace car and a fuel economy run today at driving at full noise. And it really, a lot of the time it comes down to 1 litre of fuel left in the fuel tank, because the racing's that tight. If you can make up 1 second or 1.5 seconds in the pits, that seriously these days is the difference between winning and probably being 5th or 8th place, because the cars are that equal, and they're to me, they've got too much aero, but they're reducing the aero in 2020, so for a bit of luck, it's good racing, but it might be a little bit more passing. But back in the old days, you'd see your Falcon GTs would blow by the Holdens on Conrod Straight, being the XU1 Tranas, which are 6-cylinder, and the SLR 5000s, L34s and A9X Tranas, which was the last of them. They didn't blow by the A9X Tranas, because by that time the Tranas were pretty well nearly unbeatable. That was at the end of, that was in your Cobra years, 78s, and then your Federation Falcon, Alan Federation Falcon era. That was your sponsor. Beautiful looking cars, beautiful looking cars, all these 2 doors, beautiful looking cars. All Moffat's cars were beautiful looking. I was just a big fan. Alan Moffat was my superhero, and just, to me, I always liked the Fords, because they always just had the top end speed. You'd see them blown by the Tranas on Conrod, and that was rules and regulations, but Fords were quicker down the straight, the Tranas were quicker across the top, and better in braking, probably handled a little bit better, being a lot smaller, lighter car. But so anyhow, I'm not going to go any more about this, but it's October each year. Been down to the races themselves twice, been to Bathurst 2 or 3 other times. If you ever get a chance to go to that track, television doesn't even slightly remotely do that track justice. It's an unbelievable track, and when you see them go over what they call over Skyline and then down through the S's and the Dipper, if you stand at the bottom of the S's and see them come off Skyline, it's just, I'm telling you, until you're there and watching it, you just go, I just go, holy fuck, can these cars go and can these blokes drive? You just don't realise how good they are until you see that. And the actual speed on Conrod Straight, 300, close to 300 kilometres an hour, and if you're standing on Conrod Straight, like back off in the safety areas, the speed, 300 kilometres an hour, they're travelling 80 metres a second or 82 metres a second, which is about 85 yards a second. And just the pressure, just the everything, the noise, and when it's wet, the noise off the tyres pumping the water, just a whole lot. It's, unless you're there, you just don't realise how good it is. But all that started in there for the production touring cars at Bathurst, and they've always been probably the main category of racing in Australia because people relating to the cars. And since 1960 or 1964, I think they started driving at Bathurst. 1960, 61, 62 and 63 at Phillip Island. Track broke up, they couldn't afford to maintain it. Bathurst, they'd been racing cars there since the mid-30s, but it was dirt and then into bitumen. And effectively, I think it was 1963, it kicked off at Bathurst, 64 63 or 64 or whatever, 64 I think it was. And basically it's been a Ford Holden battle most of the time, apart from a few really unbelievable Nissan cars like Godzilla and that, really dominated by Ford and Holden, GM. And that's why these type of cars that were series production cars with a little mild amounts of modification, not much, seats and stuff in these, and these things were quicker than a road car, but you know, mainly a bit of safety stuff and strengthening stuff. But if you have a look at them there, I've had a good look at the 77 Bathurst winners, real close look, because at Bathurst Museum for the number 1 car and at Bowden's for the number 2. I had close looks at that. Colin Bond, which was racing the number 2 car, talked to him. He's explained the cars inside out and upside down. I asked him questions. They go to questions. Very interesting bloke. Unbelievable driver, unbelievable rally driver. Really good knowledge with car preparation, as in who he used to work in with, and you know, just switched on to like Glenn Seaton is with suspension tuning. Alan Moffat too. Those fellas they're just on it. I mean, that's what they do. That's their job, and they were good at it. They're unbelievable at it. If you see them twigging the wheels of those older cars, you realise how well they made them things sing. Like steering those cars on power, you know, on slides and that. Unbelievable to watch, in my opinion. But, that's why I was always been extremely interested in Bathurst, because talking about modifications on other videos, about you can't modify things these days, you can't do that. Well, motor racing to me has always been about modifying and making things better. But now that's all becoming more and more closed up and tightened up, and you know, back then there was the old backyarders that used to do stuff, and you know, I don't know, that's what I think Australia's made on, but maybe I'm wrong. That's what it used to be made on. I know, you know, blokes that work for my dad, father, they'd be building stuff for their timber jinkers, go behind their trucks. They'd be building all their own hooks and pins for their poles, trailer poles to swivel off. They'd be building in-laws, folding poles with turntables on, little turntables on the back of their chassis on their Mack and their Diamond, and built their own bolsters, built their own bull bars, built their own cab guards. They built everything. They'd done it all themselves. Cab guards down the back of the dozers, you name it. They'd done it. Their own engine guards, their own track frame guards. They didn't, you know, you modify them up the ante and make them stronger. And I don't know, to me that's what it's all about. But and the whole litigation, it's a big problem. But that's what happens when you get mixing smart people and money. People always want something for nothing. But anyhow, I've gone off on another tangent. But anyhow, that's Bathurst, and that's GT Falcon for me. I've always been mainly into Fords, or by a long way mainly into Fords. I can appreciate Holdens and the Chryslers and everything else. But yeah, I just think right from Henry Ford, what I've read, like he was into racing. So for me, I say that company flits in and out of racing at times, but really racing and motor vehicles really go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. And motor racing, cars, bike racing, tinkerers, smart people. People can actually do things. That's what I like. actually achieve something yourself and do things yourself, not be reliant on everyone else. And you just do your one tiny little thing that you're good at, and that's pretty all you get good at. I reckon I'd rather be able to have a range of being good at a lot of things. Mightn't be the best, but be good at it. Anyhow, on that note, this is a long video. This has got a fair bit of dribble. The lawn's out the back's done. I've got a little bit of brush cut and do the salve, and then probably back into it again through the week. Mowing and brush cutting here, and mowing and brush cutting at work. Grass has grown like a real bastard, and yeah, it's all happening. Sveno, Mick out.